So this is the video for that's the documentation for the Material Nodes add-on. So I'll show you first the overview of this video. So and that is what is the Material Nodes add-on, how to install it, overview of the building blocks, how to build your first material, and then we go crazy a little bit, and then how to use the building block scene that's also included, and how to use the material library. So this is also the documentation, you can download it, but in this video I show also other things than only this document. So what is the Material Nodes add-on? The Material Nodes add-on, it has 40 building blocks, and you can make your own material, and you can combine these building blocks, and they are multifunctional because you can use them as shader. You see here BSDF, or you can use them as mask. For example, I use this one as shader and this one as a mask, but I could turn it the other way around. For example, I could have this one as a shader and have the pattern of this one. I can plug it in to there. So there are a lot of possibilities. I show you in a minute in Blender. So what we have here, you see here's a pattern that's like a Musgrave wave mix. That's obviously a mix between Musgrave and wave, and you can mix it. So here this part is Musgrave, this is wave, and here you can mix it. And you can set the colors, and you can, if you use the normal, then you can set the bump strength. And if you use here the roughness, if you plug that in somewhere, then you can play with these roughness settings. But now in this case it is a mask, so now only this part will work, the vector will work, and yeah, the normal will work if you plug the normal into another node. So so this is a pattern. Yeah, here you don't see it, but there's slightly another color. Maybe that didn't render out on the PDF here. So and then it goes into a varchar node, and that's a node that makes slight variations on the color, so it looks less sterile. That makes the Albedo or the diffuse colors makes it more look natural, because in real life there are loads of variations in the surface of a color of surface, I mean. So, and then that one, I plug that in one of the colors of the ladder, and then yeah, at the end we get this texture. You see, it doesn't look like a procedural texture anymore. It looks quite like a realistic texture. So when these are node groups, when we open these node groups, you can open them. If you select it and you press tab, then you can open these node groups. And then you see inside those node groups, you see, for example, this part, and another one, you see that part. So when we open up everything, you see these nodes. Those are over the 40 connections or nodes. So you can imagine that this is way faster, and it is way more clear how your material is composed. So this is already too difficult. So if someone needs to analyze what happens here, then he has to go over here, he has to go back and analyze what happens. So this saves a lot of time if we have building blocks. I show you here in the Blender the building blocks. So when I go to the shader editor, I have here the Material Nodes Addon, and then I see here the building blocks. So you just see the names, but later on you will see we will load the building blocks as seen, so you can get familiar with the names of the building blocks and what they do. So for example, I can also do other things. I can delete this, I can add another one, for example the tiles, here this, and then I grab these over here, and this time but this because these are tiles, it has not a color output. So what we can do in this case, plug this in here. So we have now tiles, and for example, I think, I want a bit more variation on those. Oh yes, I have to add a shader. VSDF principle. I have to work a bit different. So then, let's say I have here this color. Let's grab this one here. It's a bit hard to make a video and work with this node. So it has to calculate a bit, and then we can, if we make this very saturated, we see what this one is doing. And we can set, for example, the value down, and if we slide this up, we see this kind of thing, and then we can normally plug it into a normal shader, but the tiles doesn't have that. But then, yeah, you get a load of building blocks. You can even plug in some other things. Let's go to step noise for the fun. Step noise. And then you see you can combine all kinds of settings. Alright, so you can combine a lot of things. Let's see what the next part is. So let's see if I didn't forget anything. So how to install the add-on. So you go to your downloads. Let's see, you see it a bit different than here, but what I see here, you load the Matarial Nodes version 5. That is the zip file, that is the add-on itself. You can download it in Blender. So you can go then to Edit, Preferences, then you go to Install, then you navigate to your folder, you press Install Add-on, and then you will see something like this. You have to check this box, I have it already installed, and then you save preferences and refresh. If you have already the Material Nodes Addon, best is when you update an add-on, best is always to disable it, remove it, save preferences, refresh, and restart Blender. So then you're sure everything is clean, and then you can update your add-on or install the latest version. So let's see if I forgot something. Oh yes, so we can find what we have seen already. We are here in the shader editor, and then you see here Material Nodes version 5. You have to press N for the N panel, and then you see here the building blocks. and first, if you start from scratch, let's say I delete this one, I add new cube. So, and then I select this cube. It says add material, so it cannot add any nodes because there is no material. So you press or here, or you can press here, new, it's the same. So you make a new material and then you can navigate here and then you can choose something like that. What you also can do, you can press Shift A, and then you see material nodes. And because I use my mouse cursor on top, Shift A, material nodes, it starts from A and goes down until the V in this case. But if I put my mouse cursor at the bottom, I press Shift A, material nodes, then it starts from the bottom, like that. So maybe that's a bit handier. Let's double check. So now it starts here. Sometimes you have to scroll down. So I think it's easier to start with your mouse cursor at the bottom, then you can see everything, or when you click here you see everything very quick in one go. And then next one, so we had that, yeah, a quick overview of the building blocks. Alright, yeah, I showed you this one. These are the building blocks, so you can combine your own material. There is a scene, it's called the building blocks scene, and that has all the building blocks materials, and I can show you that. So let's go here, I open reset building block scene. Then I press this one, I get rid of that panel. So we have here all the building blocks, and maybe it's handy because then you see the names and you can see the material. So when you press a monkey, you can also go here. So let's put this down a bit. If you see several collections, this scene is made by the Eevee Express. That's another add-on. So those are all these things like 3-point light, HDRI substitute, a backdrop, etc. So you don't have to do anything about it because it's already baked. The only thing what you can do is check these ones. For example, when you see a material, you press on the monkey, you select that, and then you move your mouse over here in the 3D view. Then you press the dot on the keyboard, and then you see here the car paint monkey. And at the same time, when you have the shader editor on this side, you see the node here, and then you can play around with it. So I have selected this one, I go over there, and then I think this is a good way to get familiar what the nodes are doing. So you see the name, and then you see you can play around to get familiar with it. I think this is a faster way. So I think this is a good start to start with the add-on to get an understanding of it. So maybe I can tell you about the basic setup of all nodes. They are quite the same. Let's first check if I am on track or not. So this building scene, you can find that here, building blocks scene, and you can unzip it, and then yeah, there you find the zip file. There is, sorry, the blend file, and you can load that in Blender. All right. So yeah. So let's build our own first material. So first okay, let's do that. So let's go over here. Let's start a new scene. Get rid of the cylinder. Press M. Oh, Shift A, MM, Control 2, and go here. I apply. Go over here, new material. Then I split it in half. Go to the shader editor. Press N to get rid of that end panel. And quickly I make a backdrop so I can see a little bit better. So I bake first, and then I go to render view preview, the monkey up 1 unit, shade smooth. Alright, so then get rid of this end panel, slide it over here. Then, oh, I've got to go to my other workspace. That's always an issue, but we got it right here. So now we can work on the material. Let's make some more space like that. So let's start with the Albedo variation at shader, and then I can plug this in. So I have two choices. I can use it like that, or I can use it like this. I plug that in here, there, the roughness into here, normal into there, and that's exactly the same. A slight difference, and that might be because I have other settings here like that. No, next step. Oh yeah, I'm going to show you first the setup of every node. So what you see here, for example, we have a color input. You can plug all kinds of things here and here in the color input. Let's say, yeah, let's say this one with the color in here. And now you can see we have then the same material, but we can now control the colors like this. Then we have the Albedo for variation. The scale, you see that most nodes than the detail. If you go a bit closer, you see the less detail, or if you want more detail, you see like that. So normally around 5 or 4 is okay, I believe. So in this case, you see here ambient occlusion. That makes it this one a bit darker inwards the normals. Noise roughness, that is similar to detail, that is part of the new noise texture. In this case, it looks similar like the detail. Distortion, personally I don't like the effect. It looks a bit weird, but there might be cases that you need it. And this is also interesting, the clamp min. You see that in some other nodes as well. With this, if you set these values close to each other, like 0.5 and this one 0.48, so yeah, then you see a very tight, very sharp lines. By the way, with this Albedo node, you can make very nice surfaces. Let's look that up. So I have here my asset manager. I have my nodes from the material library. So I loaded out all those materials, the 165, 65 materials, and that is services. And these services are using the Albedo thing, if I'm correct, Albedo variation. Oh, let's go here. There's a newer version. I thought was wrong, but this Albedo variation is new. I used it before, and then it was like this. So changed quite a lot. Here it is. So, but this is really nice to make a surface. I show you. So I click on this backdrop. I click on the monkey. I press Ctrl L, and then I click on materials. And now this whole backdrop has that material. I can click on the material. Then I go over here to my properties panel. I click here, so it has a unique material. Make it unique, so I can change this color over here. Looks, yeah, I find it looks very natural. Let me see. So we had that. We add a monkey to the scene. I added material, new material. Yeah, you see the drop down. Huh? We have a drop down here, or you can press Shift A and then you see that. Or if you move your mouse to the bottom, then you see it like that. That's the Albedo variation node. Okay, so I'm still talking about the inputs and outputs of this node. So there was a clamp min, the bump strength. Let's select this one. Let's put the clamp a little bit back so we can see it better. So bump strength, you put the bump up, just like that. And you have 4 sliders for roughness. Just set these two always on 0 and play with these settings. So what you want is that you have variation of roughness. That's the point. So here you see a part that is very rough, and here a part that is a bit has sharper gloss. So that's actually what you want, and you can play around with this. So and you can use this when. So now maybe I show you this one so it's easier. I plugged the roughness in here so we can see what's going on with the roughness. Oh, sorry, I have to show this one. So this is the roughness map. So if we play with min, so now everything is white, everything is very rough. Now some parts are not that rough, and now all the parts are not rough. So with the roughness offset, you make everything lighter or make everything darker. With the contrast, you can add more contrast. So the darker parts here get darker and the white parts get whiter. So that is the idea. So you find this back in a lot of other nodes. So this is a little bit too much, so I want to bump this up and bump that down a little bit. So we have here the normal. Now we can show you this way, yeah. Because I plugged in a normal, I connected the normal output with the normal input of this. I can adjust the bump strength in here, like that. And I have also a bump strength here. Those are two different things. So sometimes you have a material with, let's say, a blocky pattern. You change the bump strength and then you can adjust the bump of that. Then we have a factor. So if you have a pattern like tiles or something, you can go to, let's make quickly a cube at MC. So I add a new material and I add the utilities. So then I have here texture mapping. You can also copy it. So Control C, and go back to your monkey. Control V, you have texture mapping, and then you can plug in this one. So now the UV is responsible for the mapping the texture on the object. Then okay, we have here the metallic. I included this because I believe, yeah, they say a material is or 0 metallic or 1 metallic, and not in between. But I believe, yeah, I wrote that in this documentation or guide. I wrote more about it, so you can read that. But yeah, I feel free to use it or not. And also the specular, I like to put it down a little bit because sometimes the objects look so reflective, and that is maybe due to the real life is a bit different than a 3D scene, and by theory we should put the materials like that. But I feel free to use it or not if I think it looks better. Then I think we should play a little bit more with the subsurface. For example, when I put a little bit subsurface here, yeah, the material looks quite good. I added just a little bit. I show you. I put always the subsurface radius on 0.2, but that depends how big your object is. If you have a very big object, you need to bump it up a bit. So, and then I always plug the same color in the base color and the base color and subsurface color, they are the same. Or if you need a skin shader or something specific, then you can change that, but overall I think it is approximately the same. So, and now the outputs. So you can use the most node groups as a shader, like this, or you can use it as a mask. So let's load something again that acts like a mask. We go to Musgrave variation, add shader, and here you see again quite the same setup. So we have scale, we have detail, then we don't have ambient occlusion, that's specific for this shader. Then dimension, that is the part of the Musgrave texture, also this one. We can clamp again, bump strength, roughness is the same, and then subsurface metallic and specular are the same, and it has a factor of the normal input and the same outputs. So we can plug it in as shader. We can use it like that, or we can use as mask, or the color, plug it in here, plug that in there. So, and that way we can combine a lot of building blocks and make our own material. Alright, so no, that was a lot. The output, we had outputs, I think, so yeah, we can do that. So, yeah, and you can color, you can connect the normal of this one, so we can adjust the bump strength here, like that, or like that. You see, those bumps are different. So this bump is for this shader pattern, and this bump, that is for the Musgrave. So I think I covered that. Yeah, and then you can go on and on. For example, you have the Musgrave node Albedo variation. I plug in the Musgrave lines. So, and then yeah, that's this one. And then I think the darker parts are a bit boring. I want to have some variation there. But then the lighter parts are a bit off. You could also use a bit variation. And I plug that far shot node group into the lighter parts over here, and then you get a material like that. And yeah, you can go on like that. The building blocks seen. No, I'm a little bit short by memory, but I thought we had that already. No, open recent building, yeah, we had that. So, yeah, then if not, then my apology. Then there is something wrong with my memory. So you have here the materials. You click on anti-slip rubber, also a nice material. Oh yeah, and I show you my asset library. So I click on new, general, save. Then I always need to load a scene. Let's go for this one. Settings. And put this on here. Then add a monkey. Control 2. Apply modifier. Add new material. Let's go over here, and now I need to do some things over again because I have my asset manager in another workspace. So I need to press this again, etc. So yeah, I have here all this the library, can download it. I show you what's included. So ambient occlusion, some rigs over here. You can make at your own variation, as I showed you. Some car paints, checkers, load of checkers. Oh yeah, and you can maybe use it as a towel or something like that. Some fabrics, they look quite good. Some look quite good. Satin also. Fake leather, yeah, I like this one. So fake leather, filter paper, or maybe toilet paper or tissue. I don't know exactly what it is, but I give the name filter paper because it looks like that coffee paper when you load that. Then glass, oh yes, then you need, this works only in Eevee, I think. So you have glass M. If you use glass, you need to go to screen space refraction, and then be sure that these settings are on, then more than the alpha blend and alpha hashed. And then you need to, I think, if you have the HDRI, it works best. And then you have to bake the indirect light. The LED, you see some LEDs over here. Then marble, some look very good. So for example, I thought that I like number 4, so 5. Let's load that up. Shade smooth. Yeah, pretty nice. So metals, quite some metals also interesting. You can also mix normal maps. Let's try that out. It's a bit weird, but I'll show you why that is. So you see here this material, but when you go out, it looks different when you zoom in. When you go out, it's more like red. When you go close, it's not the same color. That's how this shader behaves a bit. But what you can do is you load your own normal maps. Those has just 2 textures, no diffuse, and you set them on non-color, and you can load your normal maps, and then you can change the strength. So the benefit of that is that normally textures, they look very that there is repetition. So when you combine the 2 textures, you don't see that much repetition. On top of that, there is when you see this, by the way, that means that it's like the varchat node group. Varchat stands for variation in the shader, and that is to make materials look less sterile, and this is also part of it. So the idea is that if you put this up, then there is no variation in the albedo value. When you put it down, there's more variation. It makes it darker, and then you can scale it. You can scale that one. So if you use that, so we have 2 textures. We can scale both textures, and we can use this varchat that makes variations. So if we use that all, then there's not much chance that we see repetition. No, next. Lost a little bit. Block scene, we have seen that. How to use the material library? Oh yes. So you can see that in this document, this PDF. So you can unzip the file, then you see a directory like that. And when I click, for example, on tiling, I had to rename it because there was a problem, but now it's a tiling, not tiles. And when you open it, you see files and icons, and in the files directory, you see all these blend files. But when you go back to the icons, you open it, you see all these icons. And I use that in the asset manager. So Yeah, I think I showed you most of it. If you have questions, I cannot discuss all of it, but I think you can do a lot, especially when you load the building blocks scene and you take a look at that, or you look at these materials over here. So you have material, yeah, you can check that, or Musgrave variation. You can check what happens here. So I have Musgrave variation and fake ladder. So there's actually a fake ladder then, and then on top of that I use Musgrave, and you can, well, there are 165 materials, so yeah, you can get a pretty good idea of what you can do then with the add-on. Or you can also load any material and just use it to adjust it. So then you load your material and you think, yeah, that's approximately what I want to have, only I want it green, like that. Then you can also use it like that. Yeah, a monkey doesn't look like a cloth, but yeah. All right, so I think I covered all the things I wanted to cover. So I'm going to upload this video, and if you have questions, that would be nice if I get some feedback, because yeah, there is not much, not everyone or most people don't provide feedback. So yeah, that happens. So the developers or people who post a product on Gumroad on the market, then sometimes they want feedback, but they don't hear much. So then it is hard to develop the product, and they even want to pay me for reviewing the add-on sometimes. So they are quite some desperate. And in the case of the material nodes, I'm not sure why it is that I don't get many questions about it, but I got one good feedback from someone, I cannot pronounce the name, but he showed me that there was an error in the material nodes add-on, and I fixed it. So I talked a lot. I'm curious how big the scene is and if I'm still recording. If I'm not recording, I have to do it over again, but alright, so now thank you for watching. I'm going to upload this, not on YouTube I think, but just on the as a download in the shop on Blender Market and Gumroad. Alright, thank you, bye bye.